And I want to thank oh, yes, we are going to record, just so everybody knows. And it should pop up to ask to make sure that you agree that you're okay with that. Um, and I do want to thank also Linda Hamrick, she's our center coordinator, and then Roy Kesey, our associate director as well. And we also have James Allen Hall, who's currently on sabbatical, but I think in the audience with us tonight, who is the director of the Literary House. Oh, how's he? Sit. So, a few things before we get started. The issue should be live and in-house next week. For those of you who are going to AWP in LA, we will be there. So please stop by and say hi. We will have issues, the current issue and some of our past issues there. We will be at booth 432. And we love one of our contributors or just people who love the journal come by and see us, and we'll have lots of cool pins and goodies to give away. But let's get to the main point of the night, our contributors. Throughout the reading, we will post links for everyone. So if you're interested in learning more about any of the authors or ordering an issue or getting a subscription of Cherry Tree, keep an eye on the chat, and those will kind of be popping up throughout the evening. Okay. So to get us started tonight is Dustin Brookshire.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. If you're not familiar with Grindr, which I know all of my queer people probably are, you will know what Grindr is. You just need to know that everything in this poem is either pulled from a Grindr profile, has been said to me, or said to my friends. And it's called Quality Men, a Grindr villanelle. And it's inspired by Randall Mann, who has a villanelle called Cold War, which is also Grindr inspired. I'm only interested in quality men, not into younger guys, all brats. Don't message me again and again. No response is a response. When will people learn? No thems, no facts. I'm only interested in quality men. Over 55, better be a 10. There's no bell curve. That's that. Don't message me again. This ass is a prize you can win. Be successful, a man of many hats. I'm only interested in quality men. Own, don't rent. I love a penthouse with a balcony for our chats. Don't message me again and again. No BO, I don't want a pig pen. And don't forget to send your stats. I'm only interested in quality men. Don't message me again and again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. I am not on Grindr, nor am I a gay man, but I also very deeply relate with that poem. So thank you. We really enjoyed that one. Next up is Ben Klein.
Okay, I was not expecting to read so quickly. I haven't even finished my cocktail. All right, hello everybody. Thank you for having me. My poem from the issue is called Wine, and you'll also be able to find it in my next book coming out this year called Twang from ELJ Editions. This is Wine, Desire Psalm, chapter 19, verse 3. My nasal whine so high it reaches heaven. Chromosomes and bodily fluids, bullies and nature, nurture ignited. My vocal fry a ruin the devil calls swagger. But I see how many men fear what they can't keep under thumb, what submission means if flipped. Their privilege, not a granite mountain, but a worn pebble skipping the lake. We gather near at dusk, threading reeds and thighs, my squeak unleashed like a frog's tongue, sticky and quick near their ear, their loose gasps, their shudders crowned with touch-me-nots. When I touch them, we break their secret joy under my thumb, pressed between their lips, a ruin I call from their bellies, pressed into the ground, their pitch so high, gnats and bats scatter, and all I hear is harder. Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben. Next up, we have Luke Johnson.
You guys hear me okay? On the first anniversary of my father's death, on the first anniversary of my father's death, I sit with my uncle in the half dark watching I Love Lucy and laugh at how he sucks a cigarillo slow enough the smoke ringlets his nostrils and rises so the fan which slices them is suddenly holy. And the flannel coat clutched with father's sweat, holy. And the boots he wore, holy. And the abalone ashtray, holy. And the hog he shot from 50 yards and hung on the far wall, holy. The warbling lyrics of night herons, holy. I press the smoke slow in my palm and pant quietly, holy. Cod on the stovetop, sizzling. Cod on the stovetop, cold. And my uncle out with a bottle of Boone's in his lap and an old mutt licking the wound on his heel. I am tempted by the oven flame, the gas and all its hissing, how a wolf spider huffs when caught in a snare and will eat itself alive. I've swallowed the weather and wear black to mimic sleeted streets, the spray from passing tires. But sometimes, warm, on a day in August, when the wind has fucked the white acacia and wild onions finger the fields, I am asked again if what's in me is holy, if a crater is holy, if the weather shift, holy, and the song of my mouth is unmoored. Thank you.
That one is so beautiful. Thank you so much. I absolutely love the imagery, especially I have seen a very chuffed wolf spider before, and that is the perfect way to describe them as well. Thank you. Next up is Emily Hall.
Hi. Can everyone hear me? Okay. All right. I'm reading the first two paragraphs from my nonfiction piece, Penalties, about my time working in a library. At the library, I spend my shift putting away the old men who look at porn on the public computers. When I ban them for 6 months, they just shrug, grab their coats, and walk away. I pull toddlers off shelves, clean up their puke as they sit feverish next to grandparents who scroll through Facebook all day. While working the front desk, I scrape dried fluids from books and tell angry patrons they'll have to pay for the ones they've destroyed. They always look aghast and exclaim, "But I thought everything is free here." The library is in the heart of a rural town, some 20 minutes from where I live with my parents. It has faded gray awnings and chipped brick stairs. And after I'm hired, the library's director explains that it was once the town's funeral home. She points to the track lighting over the front desk and says it illuminated the caskets during services. She points the embalming happened in the room where we keep the TV for family movie night. Before I can fully process this, she lowers her voice and confides that the former funeral director, worn out from this work, dropped dead somewhere in the building. She whispers this last part like a condemnation, like I'll always worry if it happened where I'm standing. But whenever I think of this story as I'm wheeling my cart around the shelves, I instead wonder about how alone he felt. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. My best friend worked in a library for a long time, and I have heard many similar horror stories, especially ones involving how your piece started. So, bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Ellen Combillo.
Hi, thank you so much. Ars Poetica, Devouring Muscles. Poor things we pry open with a knife. What it means to be human. Tourists taking pictures of our lives in intricate ruin. Not even ruin, but murals of ruin. These murals are ruined themselves. Mottled, wet, they announce our doom. Armor slides from us, bodies soft. Quit fucking around. The body, a stuck bus. We want to taste it all and all at once. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellen. That was lovely. Next up, we have Catherine Bratt Fotenhauer.
Hi, everybody. It's such a treat to be here. So just two things before I read my poem. The only things you have to know is that an epithalamium is a poem that celebrates a wedding, and then Hades is not just the Greek god of the underworld, it's also the name of the place in some cases. So this is appropriately epithalamium in Hades. Two rings hammered into fists, hands on each other's hands. I look at him in the darkness. I am marrying the man I used to love. There's something sad in that. And the flowers are wilting, and the dress is stained with dirt at the knees. Yes, I had sucked him off in the garden before we were married. I thought of myself as an exhibitionist. Turns out, I just liked the trees creaking steady against the fence. I liked the wind whistling out my name. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I like the clarity too that Hades is also kind of that place as well. That brings another context to the poem that I hadn't really thought about too much before. Thank you so much. Next up we have Toby Kasim. Is Toby here? Listen, Toby maybe. All right, Denise Tolan. Oh no, two for two. Kelly Gray.
Hi, I'm here.
Yay. Hi.
Thanks for having me. This is the eating elegy. Sometimes all the air goes out of you. The way your father said smaller to your daughter, make yourself smaller. You lose this air, this breath like a balloon mouth pulled taut into a sad sound, like some obscure Appalachian instrument that your ancestors played because your people were haunting. Haunting as in still in your lungs, still holding your breath, still baking sugar pies between rib bones, still packing you too tight into a bag that is dragged with its worn thin leather through the space of an airport. And in your dreams, the planes are always crashing. Something having been too heavy, one wing and then the other. Bird girl, broken whore girl, you're in the bag girl. You're a dead thing with your cave mouth, sucking the marrow out of a two-story pink cake, thinking he will be dead soon. Maybe that is the year you will get thin. Maybe that is the year all the people who were his people, who are your people, resurrect through the spoon and choke as women choke, the remnants of the mouthful going back out. Is it an eating disorder if you never puke? Instead, you put all of him inside the diner with the neon sign that says eat here, that you keep in the soft spot of your armpit with a smoking section and the waitress he used to flirt with named Ruby. Or maybe he just called her Ruby, with hash brown and vinegar eyes. But 40 years later, you know the expense of keeping your hair red for the obvious reasons, the scalp burning with that cheap Clarion box of color, your gloves on in the bathroom of that diner, and the cook is throwing heavy plates at swinging doors, while another part of you is masturbating to Jeremy Allen White in tidy whities. And there is meat everywhere. Hold on, baby, you cry. Daddy is almost dead. I almost got this hair right. Your lungs full after all of it. Thank you.
Wow, that one is so good you woke up Peach from her deep sleep. This is our other co-host of the night, my one-eyed cutie. Thank you so much, Kelly. Next up we have Dominique Akong. My little sweet Peach.
Motherwort, Mocha Mauritius. They grow like weeds, says the gardener, who lost his wife years ago to a sudden illness. Untranslatable, they say when I ask what took her. I think I'm acclimatizing to uncertainty. I'm learning questions not to ask. The gardener's name in Sanskrit means dark one, though once when I heard it voiced at full speed, it sounded like an English word for a thing that is not what it is purported to be. The way weeds are defined as wild plants growing where they are not wanted. For whom is this true? The Creole man who lifts a sack to his shoulder and walks through Chinatown calling ne is considered malin, clever, because he's found the word we use for Chinese motherwort. He knows the value of weeds, how to feed a family. Warm a thin film of oil in a saucepan over medium heat until it shimmers. Add the washed chopped leaves and saute for about a minute. Stir in the beaten eggs. Add a splash of water and a glug of sweet white wine, then simmer for 5 minutes. Serve in soup bowls. When my aunt brings me cuttings from her garden, I plant them in an old wine crate filled with soil. The gardener eyes them as he passes. After he departs each day, I water them. Watch their lobed leaves thicken and spread.
Thank you so much, Dominique. That was lovely. Next up, we have Alvin Liu. Next up, we have Alyssa Jewell.
Hi, thanks so much for having us all here. This is really lovely. This poem is for all the Pee-wee's Playhouse fans in the house. All right. On Pee Wee Herman's Los Feliz home, listed for sale 10 months after his death. The word of the day is empty. Empty the mid-century modern, the very century of origin, mine, maybe yours, a collective ticking away under the nuclear clock in the age of every person edging out the next. Empty, too, the house where we lived in multi-generational solitude, thick honey in the fields, static on the radio and television then, a loquacious chair the color of the sea enchanting us all back to life through the snows and rainbow glitter of a poor network connection. I loved it so much I did marry it, existing, that is, in linear time, fully absorbed in the spaces I would later grieve. How a house can glue into the gaps between your digits and then to your very essence with all the smoke and proclamation of Grace Jones emerging in metallic holiday shine from a too small box, a voice, a body that could never be contained. We break forth with energy into the next reveal, ask ourselves what to take along for the ride. Before leaving home for good, I hold the stair railing of all things, as if I were holding the hand of a friend for the last time. I want my very own green oracle to materialize. I want the gold slabs of earth bending outside the door to tell me what remains. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. I absolutely adore the end of that poem. So thank you for sharing it. I love hearing everybody read their stuff out loud. It just gives it a whole new life. Especially for us editors, we spend so much time with these pieces on paper, like reading them over and over and over again. And so to be able to hear you all really share it in your voice, it's a special moment for us as well. So we're really happy you're here. Thank you. Jenny Johnson is next. I hope that Jenny is here.
I'm here. Yeah, such a pleasure to be here. I have two poems in the issue, and I'm going to read the kinkier one. It's called Daddy Scene. He'd cruised me in a way I'd walled myself off from. Hunter green hanky hanging out the right side of his jock. All we'd agreed to at first was a spanking in the nook of the basement maze. He could have been my senior, handsome worry lines, a fade fine as sandpaper under my thumb. He said so little, but when he shared his joy in gagging, I provided. Some sex makes us gentler, a pissing contest wrung out in reverse, a blurry field of seeds released without aim or projection, meadow of meadow sweets, of daisy fleabanes, of sprouting stems unrecognizable, and then I grew into the daddy he saw in me. Against the wall, when his eye twitched, I clutched his jaw. Against the stone, his rabbit softness made my silver quiver.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I think that if you also gave us really good life advice to live by. If you have to choose between two things, always choose the kinkier one. So thank you. Jennifer LeBlanc is next.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This poem is called Love After Row. The tea tastes of burnt, the toast of damp. All across the country, women are making plans, taking stock of their men as a housekeeper monitors the larder. You are a foreigner across the table from me. In these new wide waters, I want to unmoor us, surrender up our passports and papers so we're relieved of all allegiances. But I am still American for all my protest. In the vast land of our bed, your hand moves to the small of my back, trills notes in the hollow of my neck, your overture from which I turn, bitter. Where do you stand? The state has filled my hands with many jagged stones, arrayed smooth pebbles for your choosing. I feel I should hold this against you. But no, even in my fury, I can see you are not my foe, and our bodies, when they love, create a separate piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. That is such a good poem. I love that one. And sadly, still so very relevant and needed right now. Thank you. Next up, we have Barbara Duffy.
Hi, this is a great reading. Thank you for including me. My poem from the issue is called The World Smelled Open Like Anything. I love you and how the house smells like Timothy hay. You know what God does to those who know God's secrets. They see the stories happen only to the beautiful. You and I are not encumbered by the conflict crisis resolution. We're a maelstrom of words birthing words, a cycle of upset dense as a mustache among whiskers. We are hat upon hat upon hat, and the disarray that causes hair. Hair to keep and hair to pluck is a distinction of the beautiful. I mean, it tells a story of whose body is broken most easily as an unstarted colt. Me, I choose the hard road every time. I'm the kind doctors want to shock with lasers. I pull my chin hairs out by hand. About my grandmother, I remember three things. Her chin hairs, the time she told me not to run across a crosswalk, the time she said, "That's a good question, Barbara. He doesn't know." Their house smelled like apples and paper. She smelled like apples and urine and fabric stores. When she died, I got her fabric, the fabric you asked me to put away when you came over to help clean my house. We stashed it in boxes in the guest room, and of course I can't have guests. There's Timothy hay all over the floor. There are all these heirlooms smelling of cat urine. But it's not all bad, the way you stop smelling your own smell. It's good to smell like someone else sometimes, or to open the windows and smell like the world, or in the dense summer, like alfalfa hay and the library. You're right. I remembered more than I thought. I remembered the summer my sister jumped off my grandparents' porch when she was 2 and I was 6. At the time, I believed in free will. We crimped the snapdragons, but only a little. The forestry students came by to look at my grandfather's hickory pods. Back then, the world smelled open as flowers, open like anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I can so viscerally see my grandmother's chin hairs too, especially after you reading that part. Thank you for that memory. Andy Butter is next.
Hey everyone. Thanks so much for having me here. I'm gonna just read the last paragraph of my nonfiction piece. The only thing you need to know about it is it was written after my older brother's schizoaffective disorder. That's earlier in the essay, but you wouldn't catch it. Um, and the other thing is that we lived on a farm growing up, and there was a giant mud pit, and that was our entertainment most of the time was playing in the mud pit, as one does in the country. And the other thing is it's my daughter's first birthday today. So there's that. All right. Um, I can't feel what's in my brother's mind anymore. I don't know what's gone awry there, but I know it's something horrible and full of suffering. As he plays with his nickel and his gun snores, I think of where we're from, this earth. I think of the story we were told while young of God's breath blowing us into consciousness from the mire of mud. I see my brother put the nickel over the sun and imagine a real eclipse. All my beloveds awash in the local solar light. He makes them temporarily dark. I think of the skein of Earth's crust and all my ancestors buried there, shivering when the continents tremble or fingered by ghastly rain during a downpour. I think of the bounded edges of his mind, the mud pit still a living memory for him. The sun was in the sky then too. Of course it was. It was real. It was the size of the moon, the size of a nickel. We played with mud for hours, even ate it, not sure if our bellies hurt from laughter or dirt. Later, later that night, when the moon's lid had shut over its eye, I heard him crawl out of bed and throw up the day's offal on the bedroom floor. I pretended to be asleep, but I tasted mud. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Also, I grew up in Mississippi, so I very much relate to mud being the main source of entertainment as part of childhood. Um, Next up, we have Emily Light. Nico Amador.
Thank you. It's great to be with everyone. So many good lines, these pieces. Gonna read this poem with Sylvia, which refers to the trans activist Sylvia Rivera, who was part of the Stonewall Uprising, whether the Trump administration wants to admit that or not. Um, and it's written in the style of a persona poem, but I think for me, I've thought of this poem in the series as a kind of like listening to more than a speaking for the people that I'm writing about. With Sylvia, any unruly place can resemble paradise, an ugly disco, the home I made inside a tent by the river. Each day, a new face to put on, a disastrously blonde hairdo, the dream of myself louder, more captivating than the forces calling me toward a fatal end. I blotted out the sirens, leashed the sleepless dragon. I paid my dollar for a drink and the cheap glamour of the lights above Times Square. Good enough. My thrifted gown, a prophylaxis against the mayor's petty ordinances, encroaching developers, the Mary Johns left hot-faced and murderous with shame. Some shit, I said to Marcia, her flowers large as gramophones. When we marched from Washington Place up 6th Avenue, I was right as I ever hoped to be remembered, nearly ecstatic. No knowledge but the knowledge of my own long-limbed power. I shouted into the parade, power. I wasn't asking. Power, like a star chewing a hole in the sky. If there's anything I regret, it's the crowds I left untroubled. Know what I mean? I wanted action. I wanted the silhouette of my body in a gold jumpsuit, and I wanted to offend anyone willing to trade in for the soft consolation of a wedding and a life in the suburbs. a respectable life, a village without me.
Thank you so much, Nico. Next up, we have Adriana Caputo. Power, I wasn't asking yet. I agree. There's so many good lines tonight. So many good lines.
Hi everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm so honored to be included in this issue with so many writers that I look up to. This poem is called Adriana Caputo. It's from a series of self-titled poems that I've been working on, and this particular poem is after Molly Brodak. Adriana Caputo. I am never disruptive. I am most beautiful at funeral masses. No one has told me if this is true. Mostly, I say nothing. I have become the central figure of silence. I have the cruelest body for silence. Like fireworks, I have never held anything softly, even raining. Once, the chapel of my voice was astounding. I have baptized myself to unbecome it. I am a wonderful girl. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adriana. I love that line, like fireworks, I've never held anything softly. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Next up, we have Julia Thacker.
Hi, everybody. This has been a terrific reading, and I can't wait to see these poems on the page. My poem from the issue is called How to Get Released from the Hospital. Dress fully in your shoes of paper. Accept Dixie cups of pills, the color of Easter eggs, orange juice. Swallow. Stick out your tongue. Join yoga in the rec room. Share. Ignore attendant shadowing you and taking notes. Journal. Sketch a door of bottle glass. A long, complicated sentence with hairpin turns and arrows. Sanction your husband's plan to hide all but the butter knives. When the counselor says, you are the most functional patient on the most functional unit, do not ask, but what am I in the world?
Thank you, Julia. We're getting so much good practical life advice tonight. Thank you. Next up, we have Theodora Zilkowski.
It's such a joy hearing everyone read. Thank you for having me. This poem is called Pink Mold. All winter, the possum swaggers across the porch, glassy-eyed as a drunkard, oblivious to our cats who view his performance from behind the sliding glass door, which is one among many whose dull locks don't work. So we install chains and bolts, store the keys in a pink teacup, though they disappear of their own accord. In that historic house, I come to understand desire as the condition of looking into a blue sky without sun. All summer, the softwoods and their balsamic pong of cedar. Mold thrives behind the fridge and, in the master bath, smothers the walls in which a family of squirrels live. By summer, cabinets slop off their hinges and the kitchen sink craters the floor. Desire can make one senseless. I defended that house to the bones.
Thank you so much, Theodora. It was lovely. Next up, we have Michael Levan.
Hi. Hello. Thank you all for reading such incredible work, and thank you to the editors for putting this all together. This is my nonfiction short piece, Helpless. Her parents visiting watch him wake and head to the bedroom to check on his wife. They watch as he guides her to the bathroom, emesis basin in his left hand, Zofran and TPN bags in his right, both of hers holding onto his arm for dear life. They watch her pull herself along the floor in quick and short shuffles, an afraid to fall child learning to ice skate. They watch him lead her back to the unlit room. They watch him pause to get his bearings as she pulls ahead, dark, not hiding anything from her but her. They watch him jerk forward, tubing from her leg and arm, pulling taut, what's meant to be parabolic, curved in the shape of a smile, if that's something people still do. They watch him, watch her, watching her body fail. They watch him shut doors, barely not a slam. They watch him mutter swears when she calls for a cup of ice or a pill to answer one of her pump's alarms or her prayers. They watch him pluck hairs from his cheeks as he muddles through a seminar paper he asked an extension for. They watch him pass by bagels they bought special for the three of them from the only bagel store in this southern town, 25 minutes away. But why not spend so much time on the road, trapped as they are in a house not theirs, in a house where they're only witnesses? They watch the sun fall slightly later than at their Southwest Michigan home, grateful for light, not pummeled away by Earth's wintered axis or lake effect snow. They watch him ask for permission to leave so he can eat his day's only meal. And they watch him promise he'll take his phone and come home immediately if she needs him. They watch their daughter fight less as the day wears on, even as she gets farther from waking and closer to sleep. They watch sleep too and what it will bring. Another day nearer to a trip home, another day of his love and weariness, another day of her living and dead. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. That's a really gorgeous essay. I'm excited for everybody to be able to read it in its entirety. Next up we have Brian Verratti.
Hi, I'm so grateful to be here with all of you and so grateful to have a very weird little poem in the literary shade section of the magazine. In about 2017, Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of suggested that maybe there was a satellite in space owned by a prominent Jewish family, and that satellite was being used to light fires in California and sort of like exaggerate the problem of wildfires in California. So this is a poem called Jewish Space Laser. The Jewish space commander meets me at the pod bay doors. The Jewish space commander welcomes me aboard, asks, "Isn't the view nice? The whole of the lumpy earth like a matzo ball bathed in star soup." The Jewish space commander swears me to secrecy, gives me my assignment, data entry. I'm no good with numbers, but the Jewish space commander says that's the only job left. The Jewish space laser, they say, is off limits because they don't know any Hebrew. And the manual's all in Hebrew, says the Jewish space commander. They say it's fine that I don't believe in the big guy, but I could at least pretend to know what I'm saying when I repeat back my father's prayers like an underpaid stenographer. The Jewish space commander says, I've got the right hair and nose, but not the right tongue. Still, the Jewish space commander lets me look at the laser when they give me the tour, because it's the big attraction. They say it's no toy and we're not allowed to use it for burning forests or dismantling capitalism. The Jewish space laser is strictly for projecting psionic transmissions. These transmissions are from our grandmothers who ask if the people of Earth are eating enough because they look so thin. The Jewish space laser is an ambivalent god. The Jewish space laser is all titanium and twisted angles. The Jewish space laser looks like a cross between a menorah and millions of missing faces. The Jewish space commander makes small talk as we walk. The Jewish space commander says, my ancestors are all star ghosts because my mom's not Jewish. The Jewish space commander ignores all my questions about space Jews of color. The Jewish space commander wants to know what I've been told about Palestine. The Jewish space commander says, here's my desk, and let them know if I need anything. Bagels are in the kitchen. The Jewish space station is quiet. The space desks are all empty, and everyone's out for space lunch. The space laser is powering up now. It hums softly. A little song I don't recognize. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I absolutely love that poem. One, I am intrigued by being a space ghost, a star ghost. I would love that. I would also just love to have a Jewish space laser, I think, at this current moment in time. Yeah. And we are also very intrigued by all the poems on your wall back there. Is that a new manuscript coming together? Yay, that's exciting. Something to look forward to. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm still talking. The last one for the night is Amy Thatcher.
Hi.
Hi.
So, hold on a second. I have to find this poem. So, I was raised to want to be the Virgin Mary. So I'm going to read this poem that is one of my weird Virgin Mary poems. And thank you to the editors of Cherry Tree for including me in this amazing issue. I can't wait to get it. Anyway, Mary's Dream. I came unglued from the marble's blue gaze. Oh, sorry. This is the wrong poem. Holy shit, James, I'm so sorry. Um um I'm sorry. I'm like 100,000 years old and I'm trying to use my phone to figure out where this poem is.
You're doing great. You
I'm
can keep
so
reading the one you
sorry.
started. Just
So
keep going.
God, I'm sorry. No.
I want to hear the wrong poem. That was from Barbara.
Okay, wait. Mary's I'm sorry. Oh my God. Now I can't find it. Um is it okay if I just like not read right now? I'm so sorry. I
You
I
finished the
can't
poem you
find it.
started. That's okay. It's no stress at all.
This is terrible.
No. Or I remember one time I made a mistake proofing a poem for Mary Ruefle, and she said, "This is such a beautiful mistake." And maybe this is just a beautiful mistake. There's no such thing as a really bad one. So you can read your other poem.
Um okay. Well, now I have to find that one. Um Mary's Dream. I came unglued from the marble's blue gaze, chipped by a bomb in Berlin. More tender than ever, my gaze, as I stepped off the serpent's head into the sea, felt the cold tide bite my body. When I surfaced, dolphins clicked and chattered, gulls swooped, schools of fish scattered like ashes of a world dependent on my happening. I lived alone and woke when it suited me.
That was gorgeous. See? Oh, that was a beautiful way. That was not the wrong poem. That was great. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure, did any contributors kind of sneak in last minute? I don't want to miss anybody because there were a few who had signed up that weren't here earlier. Um, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. It is wonderful to be able to see and hear uh, the beautiful, wonderful, amazingly talented writers from our issue. We cannot wait for you all to have these books in your hands. Order your copy. If you're in LA, please stop by and see us again. We'll be at booth 432. We will have books, swag, smiles. We're selling broadsides, all that good stuff. And really, we just want to see everybody. So thank you again and good night. Find us online and find each other online. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Thank
Good
you.
night.